Well, these stats are shocking. Not really, but just how bad this surveillance stuff is. And how, yeah, it's legal. Of course it is, because we live in this country that caters to the corporate world. Here's what I want to say, and then when I get to what these stats say, it's shocking, and what some of these employers do. But is that America needs to start being about the little people again. Okay, it's catered to the corporate world forever. Okay, and look at what the corporate world are creepers now. That they're, and even worse than that, communist creepers. But in order for America to be great again, it cannot be this same system. The leadership at all levels needs to change. First of all, to help healthcare, that needs to happen. No, everything in here, this does not help healthcare. This goes on in every industry, obviously, but in healthcare, teamwork is the best way to positive outcomes. But now we live in this surveillance world, and it needs to change. So, yeah, some of these tactics maybe some people knew about, but here we go. How your boss is watching you at home. But here's the top highlights from this article. Since the beginning of the pandemic, surveillance software has tripled to keep an eye on remote employees. But it's tripled in every, like I said, how I work at a place right now, and it's hard to have any relationship with them. They don't put safety first, and yet they let you know outside the starting gates that we're going to monitor you and we're going to watch you from at home. Like they literally tell employees this all the time. It's creepy. It's uncomfortable. It's no way to have a relationship with an employer. So, yeah, that's why the people that are heading up healthcare, there needs to be a change. I don't know how that happens, but nobody in leadership at these big levels should be running healthcare, not healthcare. Nearly 50% of employees would rather take a pay cut than deal with being watched by their employer. Absolutely. Many workers think their employers have crossed an ethical line when it comes to surveillance in remote workspaces. Absolutely. What's worse about this article is the employers and the management know that what they're doing, there's something wrong with them, but they still do it. So this says management believes it needs to keep a close eye on employees, with no fewer than 78% of executives using monitoring software to collect data on employee performance and activity, according to a recent ExpressVPN survey. Perhaps it's no surprise then that employee trust is at an all-time low as well. What's more, 70% of employees don't trust their management. So that's, like, I've experienced that where I'm at right now. When you're telling me that you're coming in and I'm the only nurse on a unit, but you came in at 4 a.m. just to sit in an office with somebody else and watch me for a couple hours on a camera when your ass should have been on the unit because you should have said, oh, she's the only nurse over there. Like, that just tells me, no, you're not a good chief nursing officer. You likely shouldn't have a license, in my opinion, but maybe that's going a little bit too far. But she's on a power trip, so. But it's this stuff is bordering on, like, mentally there being something wrong with people that do this, and they know it. And when you don't have trust, then you're not going to have good outcomes. In healthcare, that's what we base everything off of, is good outcomes. And the best way to have good outcomes is to have teamwork. And in order to have teamwork, there must be trust. There isn't trust when employers are doing this. I'm not against, like in psych, we need to have cameras in some instances, obviously, because it's good to go back and look at tape to see what happened if an incident took place. But when you have them everywhere, I mean, even where I'm at, I wouldn't be surprised if they have them hidden in the bathrooms. It's that uncomfortable. It's that uncomfortable. It's like every time I'm at work, it's like I'm not living in America anymore, because this isn't what America used to be about. But it's a big healthcare system. They get away with it. Being watched by the boss is nothing new. We all know that. But a recent study of 2,000 companies and 2,000 employees said a whopping 57% of bosses said they don't trust their people to work without in-person supervision. So they started watching workers at home in a variety of mundane, creepy ways, and it's very creepy. The monitoring keystrokes thing, I guess, they've been doing that for a long time. Some companies have even invested in a video conferencing tool called Sneak to take photos of their employees every 1 to 5 minutes. The software wasn't actually intended to be used to spy on employees, but that's what it's being used for now, to make sure you're actually working. And then this shouldn't be a surprise. The CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, is, knowing him, it's not a surprise. He took the term creeping you on social media to a whole new level when he let it slip on a company webinar that he was spying on employees through a fake Instagram account. Dimon said he was looking at employees' accounts to see if they were really sick or just hungover from partying too much. Many of us would be appalled to know our bosses were watching our every waking moment via Instagram. And in a recent study of 2,000 companies, 83% of employers agreed that there were ethical concerns with their own behavior. 83% ethical concerns with their own behavior. However, most of them, 78% to be exact, still put monitoring software in place. So that tells you, like, there's a lack of having a conscience then, because they know it's not the thing they should do, but they do it anyway. That's not what we should have in leadership. As a general rule, employees expect little privacy. I think most people would agree with that. However, it's gone to this new low. And part of it, they looked at the psychological aspect of this, and they said, we looked at our research from the psychological contract literature, which basically states that individuals have this unstated expectation of their employer to treat them with respect, and they expect that their employer trusts them enough to do the job. I think that's very important. And so when you go into a job and you're basically told, we're going to be monitoring you constantly from home, and then the only time they ever talk to you is to tell you you did something wrong because they were, it's sick. It's very sick. And the people doing this from home, especially in healthcare, you're sick. You're sick. And in my opinion, you're violating HIPAA. Okay, because patients are walking across those cameras. Okay, is it only nurses at the bedside that are getting hit with HIPAA violations? No, most of the CEOs in this country should be hit with them, given all these cameras they put in. And then watching from home. So, I mean, it's just very sad, all of this. Once employees are aware of the constant surveillance, 56% feel stress and anxiety. Because of it, on top of that, 32% of employees take fewer breaks because they worry about what the surveillance will imply about their productivity. And you know, right now there's this big push by the experts in healthcare, the associations of nursing and medicine, about, employees and their mental health. Well, maybe they should consider this and start demanding that hospitals and these employers remove all these cameras. There's too many of them. There's too much of this, checking keys, all this stuff is causing stress and anxiety to 56% of people. Then you should see how you're the problem. They are the problem, but they can't even see how they're the problem to begin with. So that's why I say the leadership needs to change. So I just hope something, I don't know, I just pray something can change, because this is not what America's about. And people can work together great and have great outcomes, especially in healthcare, but not when you have leadership like this in place that think it's okay to do this to employees. Sad state of affairs where our country's at.